The views and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and producers and are not those of Apple or any authorized service provider. Information provided is purely for entertainment purposes only. For more information about products and services discussed in this program, we invite you to visit a corporate Apple store or an approved, certified Apple service and sales center.
Today we celebrate the first.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
You're stealing from
guy's great.
Don't Sculley Around.
The Apple podcast that brings you information from both sides of the counter.
So it can seem like your computer's not turning on at all. At all. It's just black.
From both the customer and the sales and service provider's point of view.
You want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?
Because we don't scully around.
What can I say? I hired the wrong guy.
And as we speak, a new Apple design language has been unleashed upon us. And there's just a all new everything and a new design scheme across all your Apple devices, which they're going to be calling Liquid Glass. It looks interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how we're going to interact with it. It seemed like macOS Ventura was a somewhat complete redesign of the system. They moved a lot of menus around. It took us a while to figure out where they moved things.
Oh, the settings app.
But they've kind of made things a little bit easier. They've tried to make it more uniform so it looks more like you're seeing the same settings app that you would see on your phone or your iPad. But it took a while to figure out where they hid things, even when you use the handy-dandy search feature.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to have to search for something that's always been in the settings tool instead of just going, here, this is where it has always been, and now it's not.
Yeah, Windows has done that. Of course, they've done that too, but they have a secret way to at least get you back to old-school-looking Windows menus.
But it's so confusing!
Anyway, this is Don't Scully Around. My name is Chris. My wife, Caitlin, and I are both Apple authorized technicians, and we love talking about all things Apple, even when we're not at work. So we're here with you on this podcast that, of course, you can listen to on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube podcasts, and it's just everywhere.
And Podomatic.
And Podomatic. So we thank you all for joining us on this edition as we talk about the new Apple OSs that are...
And how to prep yourself for them.
Yes.
The new OSs are really interesting. I think we talked about them already. The Liquid Glass is interesting.
You wanted to lick it.
Thank you. And I can't stop thinking of that now. Thank you so much. I am personally very excited for it because it looks really interesting. It looks like a very interesting change. And
you just want to make all your folders purple.
How'd you know? No, it's not just that. The looks of it looks really interesting. I had a customer come in last week and she had beta running on her phone. She was having other issues with her phone and I couldn't figure out why it looked different, but it was kind of nice. The rounded corners, it may be a subtle thing, but ooh, it's somehow very nice. Like things that were kind of rectangular are now more rounded. They're more oval, I guess. I don't know. Basically, they just pulled the corners in, but it's neat. I also like that it kind of matches how they've changed their laptop screens. So the laptop screens used to be corners, pointy corners. Now they're rounded, and this kind of allows the operating system to match all of that. It's minor, but it's neat. On the technical side or my work side, I'm concerned about it because that's going to be... Not everybody likes change, I think is a good way to put it. So there's going to be like half the customers who like it, and there's going to be the other half the customers who go, why did they change it? Why did you make me change it?
And the accessibility we're concerned of, especially these new transparent icons that we can enable, or so long as the app developer creates a transparent glass-like version
and I'm worried
of their
you won't be
menu
able
icon.
To see it, but I guess they've been kind of fixing some of that.
Yeah.
So some things to bear in mind when you're doing an upgrade, especially the first iteration of it, like the 0.0 version, is usually your battery life is going to kind of suck. Not only is it because your computer's probably going to need to I want to say inventory, which
index.
Is a good index. There we go. Inventory is a good way of putting it, where it's going through and figuring out where everything is located again after doing an upgrade. So that can kind of make your battery life not great for a little bit until it settles it out. It can also, just in general, it tends to be more of an energy suck because this operating system has been designed to work on the newer devices, some of which aren't even out yet. Or for some strange reason, it seems to be the thing that they forget about is the battery. Then they release an update and poof, it's so much better. So be warned of that with any upgrade. It's something we've seen with almost all of them. We see it more with the phones or the smaller devices, but if you think about it, they have smaller batteries, so you're going to see it faster. The other thing, when it comes to prepping one of your devices, the first thing to do before you do an upgrade is make sure you have a backup of what is on said device, whether it's your phone, your iPad, your computer. Your Apple Watch automatically syncs to your phone, so it'll update from there. But make sure you have it. Just an upgrade is one of the biggest things you can do to a Mac or to any computer at all. If you're doing an upgrade, if something's going to go wrong, that's going to be the time when it goes wrong. And I swear, if you don't have a backup, you're going to be the person with the problem. If you do have the backup, you'll be fine. I don't know how that magic works, but that is how the magic works when it comes to technology. And I have seen this on the Windows side and on the Mac side and on the Android side. So biggest thing is make sure you do backup. If you don't know how to do a backup, your local tech provider can also help you with that.
Or AppleCare support.
Or AppleCare support, yes. AppleCare support is also there 24/7. They're US-based, they're English-speaking, and generally they're very, very helpful, and they're very much on your side.
Yeah. So this is definitely a time to figure out how much storage have you been using in your iCloud, and do you need to purchase more? This is a great time to find out. Also, we would definitely advise you to run out and get yourself a backup drive.
I only recommend an external hard drive for a computer. You don't really need it for a phone or iPad. Those you don't, because those can back up to iCloud, which is honestly the best way to do it. You can also plug your phone, should you wish, into your Mac, and you can do a complete backup to your Mac. Then you back up your Mac, and both your phone and your computer is backed up. Plugging a hard drive into a phone or into an iPad, while it can do it, it's really not designed to back up.
Okay.
It does not have Time Machine built into the iPad and the iPhone.
But that's where we're going. We definitely highly recommend that you get an external hard drive and run a Time Machine backup to back up all of your stuff, including your applications, because that's what it's going to do. An iCloud backup just backs up your stuff and your photos and everything else.
On your computer.
On your computer. And
Phones are different.
Yeah, and to keep in mind, before you do any sort of major system upgrade, back up what you're doing. If you're in the middle of a major project that you're working on, don't upgrade your computer yet, because you want to make sure that the current apps that are on your computer, even though those developers have been given the code for the newest versions of the operating systems months ahead, so that they can make sure that their stuff is going to work on the new operating system. But sometimes you never know. You could be running an old piece of software that this iteration of macOS, it's going to all of a sudden stop working.
Or the company that you use that app from will not update, even though they've been given plenty of warning. Like, I don't know, Carbonite still hasn't embraced the fact that we have Retina displays since 2015. Sorry, 2012 actually, but you know, that's just a couple 10, 12, 15 years. Anyway, I don't have any resentment.
So in terms of steps, what do we want people to keep in mind? That you said, before we went on the air, that if you don't need to be on the latest and greatest operating system and continue wanting to use what you have for the next few months until the first patch has come out, you're fine.
Their upgrades have been getting a lot more solid these days. When I'm talking to my customers, I recommend waiting at least a month when it's a new upgrade, just to let them work out whatever will go with kinks they may have. Like I said, they've been getting a lot more solid, a lot more stable, especially on the Mac side. But there's always something. Bear in mind that when they're doing this beta testing, they're beta testing with thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. When they release it to we'll go with the wild, that's going to millions to possibly billions of people. And there's only so much testing you can do with hundreds of thousands versus billions. Just think about all the Apple users. Not everybody is on beta, and honestly, not everybody should be on beta. That's one of the big things to bear in mind when it comes to upgrading ourselves when we have new customers, unless they specifically request. When we're transferring stuff from the old computers to the new ones, I try to wait about 3 months before I automatically upgrade those computers to the latest operating system, just because there can be problems. I know Microsoft sometimes drags their feet. There's other programs that can drag their feet. Adobe's usually on top of it, but it can still be kind of funky. And that's why if you're in the middle of a project that you're working on your computer, finish your project. Your project is more important than the operating system you're on. So long as, even if you're on an older, I have one lady who she's using an older version of Microsoft Office, and she's working on a big Excel spreadsheet. And unless she's having a problem with it, I'm having her stay on that, because if you make a change to it and it all disappears or some weird glitch comes, then you're stuck and you can't get that project done. So like if you're writing a book, if you're working on a big photo album or something like that, you can wait. You don't have to do the upgrades. Upgrades, at least on the computers, generally, depending on your internet connection, take about, I'm actually finding about an hour to an hour and a half. I usually estimate 2 hours. If you have a laptop, I recommend leaving your computer plugged in while it's doing the upgrade. Give it one less thing to interrupt. Also, if you have weird internet issues or you know your internet might drop out, pick a time when it won't, or find a better location that has that, because it will need to use the internet to be able to download and install the update on your phone or computer. The phones are, I would say, 20 minutes to a half hour. I think it's more like 20 minutes to do the upgrade. I still try to plug my phone in while it's doing that, even if it's fully charged. Just, again, the least amount of interruptions you can do to the device, the better. Also, bear in mind, when you're doing an upgrade, you cannot use that device. It's going to do a lot of restarts. There's going to be Apple logos. It's going to chime, potentially, if you're on a Mac. It's going to do a lot of things. And until it says hello or welcome, it's not done yet. And you don't want it powered off in the middle of an update unless you want to wipe your computer or cause other damage.
Yeah, we have seen that with customers. They say, my computer was just rebooting and rebooting and rebooting, and I don't know why. And then they would bring it to us, and we look at it, and you're like, oh, it was in the middle of an update.
And you interrupted it.
And you interrupt it, and you're fine. But in some cases, in that rare case would you recommend someone bring their computer or device into a service center before running any kind of upgrades on their computer for that, just in case maybe there's a hardware fault that's a ticking time bomb that you don't know it's there until you run a system upgrade? I mean, I know we used to have that problem with spinning hard drives.
It's kind of since we moved on from spinning hard drives, we don't see the problem until we actually had one the other day. It's an Intel-based MacBook Air. For some strange reason, we couldn't install the newer version of Microsoft Office on it, so we ended up checking it in. And we figured, okay, we'll just reinstall the operating system. We tested all the hardware beforehand because we try to do that anyway, and it was fine. And then we tried to reinstall the operating system, and that failed. Then we tried to wipe and reinstall. We'd done a backup before this, to reinstall the operating system, which was fine. Then we tried to restore from the backup that we had, and it would fail over and over and over and over and over again. In the end, this has a bad SSD that's just barely starting to go, but the testing wasn't catching it because it's not enough to catch it, and it will be soon. So I would say it's not a bad idea to have someone check out your computer beforehand, because usually the Apple diagnostics do catch a lot. Unlike other tests out there, it actually catches a lot of failures. I think the other big thing would be, A, we can make sure you have a backup. B, you have enough space on your computer, because that's another big thing. I mean, Apple will tell you that. You still want to have, I think you need to have 30 to 40 gigs free on your computer, and preferably we'd recommend 30% or more free on your computer before you do an upgrade. The more full a computer is, the more insane it goes, especially if you're trying to do an upgrade. Bear in mind also, an upgrade is what I like to call a package file, which not I, but the world calls a package file. So I describe it like it's a present. It's a big box with a fancy bow, and inside of it are a pair of socks. The socks are the part you want, but someone decided to fill that thing with stuffing that you need to get to. So you have to unwrap the box, you have to pull out all the stuffing that they decided to put in there so you can pull the socks out, and then you throw away the box. Well, an operating system upgrade is kind of similar. The package is large to open up and to install and put everything in the right places, but eventually it has to clear that off. So you do need to have enough space on your computer to be able to do an upgrade. These days it's at least 30 gigs, but you still want some buffer space, because the tighter you are, the more likely you are to have an issue upgrading. Again, another really good reason to do a backup, because things just go nuts when you upgrade sometimes.
But of course, in the case where if you're someone who is desperately low on space and they can't run updates on their computer, and their computer is really full and acting weird, whether you need to run an update or an upgrade is the least of your problems. You already have a problem. You have a computer that is very full. And
you need to fix that problem before you upgrade it.
And you should probably, if you're not comfortable doing that yourself, we definitely encourage you to bring that to an authorized Apple service center or just any, I guess in that case, since there's not really hardware involved, just someone that knows and understands how everything works and should be laid out.
If you're looking for that, I would recommend somebody who actually knows Mac and probably somebody who uses Mac as their primary machine. There's a lot of Windows people I have seen that have tried to go through and clean up a Mac like they clean up a PC, which has given me some really entertaining problems to solve. There was one person I had that removed all the language files from his computer because why did he need those? Because the menu bar needs language. So you click on the Apple menu and it just fills up the entire screen with nothing. Just a giant box of nothing. And the Apple logo because it's a symbol and not a font. It was really cool, but in the worst possible way. Thankfully, all we needed to do was a reinstall, but I just remember clicking on it going, this is cool. And trying to also be empathetic to the customer at the same time. So if you're looking at that, I do recommend somebody, I guess, who actually knows the Mac system, or at least uses the Mac system. Right. Because they're less likely to remove things that are great on a PC and are not great on a Mac.
Yes, and we can get into another discussion at a future date about why we definitely don't recommend any kind of virus scanning or system protection on a Mac, because one, you don't need it, and two, they tend to erase files that they think are viruses when they're really something needed to run your computer. In fact, we had a former coworker who one day was sitting around with macOS and was like, I wonder how many plist files I can delete before macOS completely crashes.
Oh my God.
Or for you folks on the Windows side, basically how many registry files can I delete before the operating system doesn't work?
I forgot about that. That was fun and terrifying. Yeah, so when it comes to upgrading, definitely have fun, but please do a backup beforehand and leave your computer plugged in. Try not to interrupt it while it's doing its upgrade. I know we had a very bouncy kitten at one point, and so I used to do my upgrades in a room where I could shut the door. Somehow he still got in and pushed a button.
And as always, if you have any questions or needs for Apple repairs on your Apple devices, please take them to an Apple authorized service provider or an Apple store. Apple store. The place that says Apple.
Not Opal.
Opal. Apple. We'll be back real soon with another edition of Don't Sculley Around. And I really look forward to maybe talking to the listeners about our experiences maybe after a couple weeks with using liquid glass.
Don't forget to lick it.
Don't forget to lick it. My name's
Click
Chris.
it or lick it.
My name's Chris. She's Caitlin. Thank you all for listening to Don't Sculley Around. If you have any questions or comments, leave them on our posts on our various podcast places where we're posted, or send an email if you have any questions to don'tscullyaround@gmail.com. We'll see you again real soon
on the next one.